high call series.
So now we have done with the coastal plains of India, and now we need to go for the islands of India. So what do you mean by island? An island is a land which is covered by water on the four sides. Okay, a piece of land or a land area which is covered by water on all four sides is called an island, right? So, along with these coastal plains, the coastal line or coastal area that we have two sets of islands also. Two major groups of islands are there, right? So, one is here. And the second is here, right? So the first one is in the Bay of Bengal region of India, and that is known as the Andaman and the Nicobar Islands. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands. This is the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. It's actually a group of something around 350 plus islands. How many are there? Around 350 plus islands are there of different sizes. Some are big, some are small, some are very small, some are simply a huge rock kind of a thing. Goes on like that. And this is in an area of something around 8,000 square kilometers. Andaman and Nicobar Islands are a group of something around 350 islands, out of which hardly 24 are inhabited. Inhabited means what? Yeah, where people live, right? So this is further divided. The northern islands are called the Andaman, and the southern are called the Nicobar. Okay, the northern islands are called Andaman, and the southern islands are called the Nicobar Islands. Most of these islands are inhabited by tribals. You know, tribal people, the people who live deep in the forest. Yes. So those kinds of people are living in many of these islands. Port Blair is the capital. The island is hilly and uneven, but it is good for cultivation. Most of these islands are hilly. Actually, there are nothing else but see, we have Mount Everest here. We have a Mount Everest here. In the same way, on the south of Myanmar, there is a huge mountain range. Okay, that huge mountain range had a lot of mountains, isn't it? Once what happened is due to some earthquake or something, we don't know exactly. What happened is, this got submerged in the water. Okay, that got submerged in the water, and now what we see or what we call as the Andaman and Nicobar Islands are nothing else but the peaks of some of the mountains in this range. Okay, so that is quite, an island is nothing else but it looks like a hill. Some are even so small that it's nothing else but a huge rock. Okay, so they are uneven, they are hilly, but they are very good for cultivation. And what do we cultivate there? We cultivate rubber. It's a plantation crop, isn't it? Yes. Tobacco, coffee, coconut, etc. Okay. Then I've told there are about 350 islands over there, and only 24 are inhabited. The remaining are simply uninhabited islands, means barren islands. Okay, it's not barren, but there are no people over there. But most of these islands have got very huge trees growing over there. Okay, so many of these islands have huge trees growing over there, and lumbering is one of the major occupation. Lumbering means what? Cutting these trees and getting them ready for different kinds of things. Matchbox manufacturing is one of the major industry over there, because plenty of softwood is available, and based on those softwood they can easily make them up. That's it, right? Then evenings are amazing in this Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Evenings are amazing. Some regions of this, during the olden days when the British people ruled India, there was one island which was converted into a big jail. Okay, where there was one building and 7 or 8 rows like this. There are about 150 to 200 small rooms in that. And one person was kept in the one room, because if they kept 3 or 4 people together, they will discuss, they will think, and they will get new ideas regarding how to move ahead with the freedom movement. Okay, so the British people were afraid of keeping the Indian people together, and so they made a huge cell, a jail, a prison complex in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and this jail was known as a Kalapani. This jail was known as a Kalapani because most often we can often see people being taken to Kalapani, but nobody will come back from there. That jail is still there, known as the cellular jail of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Okay, and it is now one of the major tourist attraction there. Andaman and Nicobar Islands have a very great tourism importance. There are a lot of buildings still there which was constructed by the British people, and some of the islands like the Rose Islands are very famous. The sand on the beach is white in color, and we can easily see the bottom of the ocean also. Okay, so there are a lot of tourism based potential over there, and climate also is quite good, fine throughout the year. And this part, the southernmost island in the Andaman and Nicobar Island, is known as the Indira Point. Okay, the southernmost tip of Andaman and Nicobar Island. So the last island over there is called the Indira Point, and that is the southernmost land region of India. Okay, so Indira Point in Andaman and Nicobar Islands is the southernmost point of India. Okay, then. So, the Andaman and Nicobar Islands are a group of something around 350 plus islands that are seen in the Bay of Bengal. They are actually hilly, still good for cultivation. Only 24 of them are inhabited. Once during the British rule, these islands were known as the Kalapani, to where the Indian freedom fighters were taken. Most of them didn't even come back even. Then Indira Point in this is the southernmost tip of the land of India. Right? Okay. Now, there is another group of islands in Arabian Sea, isn't it? This is Arabian Sea, and here we have another group of islands, and that is known as Lakshadweep. So the group of islands that is usually seen as being scattered in the Bay of Bengal, the Arabian Sea is known as the Lakshadweep. They are hardly 4 to 5 meters above the sea level. Means if there is a huge wave, the entire island will be washed off. Right? And these are of coral origin. Okay? They are formed from the sea deposits. The fossils of animals and all this, sea animals, sand and all these kinds of things together have formed or helped to form this particular islands. So there are something around 36 small islands over there. Even though it is called Laksha means 1 lakh, isn't it? Yes. So even though it is called Lakshadweep, it's a small group of 36 islands in which around 10 are occupied. Means inhabited by people. Okay? The people over there speak Malayalam because it lies very close to the state of Kerala. Climate is quite pleasant over here. Farming is one of the major occupation the people do. And people also do fishing. Yeah, obviously, they are on the coastal line, isn't it? Yeah, they do a lot of fishing also. Same is the case with the people of Andaman and Nicobar Islands also. Coconut is one of the major crops that they cultivate over here. Then Kavaratti is the capital. Kavaratti is the capital of Lakshadweep. So, most of these islands are interlinked using sea routes. Ships cannot go and reach the land area in Lakshadweep, but they have got a well-established sea route system which connects many of these islands either with Kochi or Calicut or New Mangalore. Right? So, they are the 2 island groups that we have in India. One is the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, which is in the Bay of Bengal on the east of India. And the second is the Lakshadweep, a group of 36 islands to the west of India in the Arabian Sea. Okay. So, that is the lesson part. And now, we will do the exercises and the activities of this lesson. Right? So, children, we have completed the lesson on the coastal plains and the coastal lines and islands of our country. And as we have completed that, now it is time for us to do with the exercise part. Right? Okay. So, the first one is fill in the blanks. So, in this section here, we have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 sentences are there. And every sentence has got a blank each in that. 5 sentences are there. And every sentence has got a blank each, right? So what we need to do now is we need to read these sentences one by one, right? We need to read these sentences one by one and then fill the blanks based on what we have learned in the lesson, right? So we need to read these sentences one by one and fill these blanks based on what we have learned, okay? So the first one is the coastal line of our country is about a dash kilometers long. So we have studied that the coastal line starts at the Ran of Kutch, region of Gujarat, and ends at the edge of Sundarbans in West Bengal, isn't it? So it is covering all the distance and it's around 6,000 kilometers. Approximately 6,000 kilometers is what we have studied. So what we can write, the coastal line of our country is about 6,000 kilometers, right? Okay. Second, the dash coastal plain is wider. So there are 2 coastal plains, one on the eastern side and one on the western side. On the eastern side, it is between Eastern Ghats and the Bay of Bengal. And on the western side, it was between Western Ghats and the Arabian Sea. So out of these 2, one is narrow, one is wider. Which one was wider? The eastern one was wider, isn't it? The plain in between the Eastern Ghats and the Bay of Bengal is wider, right? So what should we write there? The eastern coastal plain is wider. Which one is wider? The eastern coastal plain is wider, right? Now, third one, Dash is the capital of the Lakshadweep Islands. A group of something around the 36 islands that looks like a group of scattered islands in the Arabian Sea is known as the Lakshadweep Islands, isn't it? Yes. What is the capital of Lakshadweep? Kavaratti. The island called Kavaratti is the capital of Lakshadweep. Now, Malabar coast is bigger than which coast? Konkan coast, isn't it? Malabar coast is bigger than a Konkan coast. Because of both these and along with the Gujarat coast are the three coastal regions in the western coastal line. Coastline has a dash weather all the year. We have already seen it through because of this sea breeze and land breeze. It's a steady climate. What kind of a climate is seen on the coastline? Steady weather is seen all throughout the year. So shall we check with the answers? The coastal line of our country is about 6,000 kilometers long. The eastern coastal plain is wider. Kavaratti is the capital of the Lakshadweep Islands. The Malabar coast is bigger than the Konkan coast. Coastline has a steady weather all the year. Right? So now I will keep the screen the same for another minute so that you can have a good look at the sentences. Right? Write T for true and F for false. So 6 sentences are given there. We need to read these sentences and check whether they agree with what we have learned in the lesson. Sometimes what happens is they will give us a wrong information in the sentence. So in case if they do not match with what we have learned or it's against what we have learned in the lesson, then those sentences we need to mark as a false one. If the sentences here agree the same with what we have learned in the lesson, then that is a true statement. If it doesn't agree or if it is opposite or against what we have learned in the lesson, then we have to mark that as a false one, right? Okay. So the lagoons of the Malabar coast are very famous. So Malabar coast is very famous for the lagoons. They are known as the backwaters. Tourists usually prefer this area. So we have seen all these kinds of things, isn't it, in the lesson? So lagoons on the Malabar coast are very famous is a true statement. Right? So it's a true statement. The Konkan coast stretches from the Bay of Bengal to Goa. Bay of Bengal is on the eastern side of India, isn't it? Bay of Bengal is on the eastern side of India and the Konkan coast is on the western side of India. So the southern point of Konkan coast is Goa, and what about the northern one? Yeah, it's the Gulf of Kambat, isn't it? Now the armpit fold of Indian map. The Gulf of Kambat to Goa, right? So again, the sentence is a wrong one. It's a false statement. The coastal plain between Kanyakumari and Chennai is called the Northern Circles. Northern circles are on the northern side, isn't it? The coastal area, the coastal plain between yes, Sundarban Delta up to Machilipatnam, more to the north of River Krishna is called the Northern Circles. And the coastal plain between Kanyakumari and Chennai is known as a Coromandel Coast. Isn't it? Yes. So again the answer is a false one. The Coromandel Coast receives a minimum rain during the winter. It's during the winter. No, Bay of Bengal has very good number of depressions. Some storms are marked during that time, isn't it? Yes. So is it possible to have a very less rain during that time? No. No. Especially the Coromandel Coast receives the maximum rain during that time, isn't it? So again, that also is a false statement. Next one. The Lakshadweep Islands are in the Arabian Sea. Yeah. They are in the Arabian Sea. The islands in the Bay of Bengal is known as the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Right? Okay. The land in the Lakshadweep Islands is hilly. Lakshadweep is hilly, isn't it? Andaman and Nicobar Islands are actually hilly, whereas the Lakshadweep are of coral-made islands, isn't it? Lakshadweep are of coral-made. So the lagoons of Malabar coast is very famous as a true statement. The Konkan coast stretches from the Bay of Bengal to Goa is a wrong statement because the Bay of Bengal is on the east, Konkan coast is on the west. So it is on the Gulf of Khambat to Goa. The coastal plain between Kanyakumari and Chennai is called the Northern Circles. Again is a wrong answer because that is a Coromandel coast. The Coromandel coast receives a minimum rain during the winter is again a wrong statement because it rains at its maximum in the winter season. The Lakshadweep Islands are in the Arabian Sea is a true statement, and the land in the Lakshadweep Islands are hilly is a wrong statement because hilly are the land area in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, whereas Lakshadweep it's more of a coral origin. Alright? We will check the answers once, okay? Yes. The lagoons of Malabar coast are very famous as a true statement. The Konkan coast stretches from the Bay of Bengal to Goa is a false statement. The coastal plain between Kanyakumari and Chennai is called the Northern Circles, a false statement. The Coromandel coast receives a minimum rainfall during the winter season is a false statement. Lakshadweep Islands are in Arabian Sea is a true statement, and the land in Lakshadweep Islands are hilly is a false statement. Now, I'll keep the screen the same for another minute so that you can read these sentences once again before we go on to the next one, right? Name the following. So, 7 descriptions are given here and we need to identify the item which it describes, right? A piece of land surrounded by water on 3 sides is known as a peninsula region, isn't it? A peninsula is a piece of land surrounded by water on 3 sides, and if it is on 4 sides, that becomes an island, right? The area known as the rice bowl of India. Which area of India is known as the rice bowl of India? The northern circles is known as the rice bowl of India. The area that receives maximum rainfall in winter is the Coromandel coast, right? The cities famous for pearl fishing are Kodallur is one and Tuticorin is another one. Okay, so the cities or the port areas, coastal areas which are famous for pearl farming, pearl fishing is one is Kodallur and the other is Tuticorin. Then earlier these islands were famous as a Kalapani Andaman and Nicobar Islands. That was used by the British people for imprisonments. The state known as the land of coconuts. Which state is known as the land of coconuts? Kerala is known as the land of coconuts. The city famous as the Queen of Arabian Sea is? Which city is famous as the Queen of Arabian Sea? Yes, Kochi is famous as the Queen of Arabian Sea. So a piece of land is surrounded by water on three sides is a peninsula. The area known as the rice bowl of India is the northern circles. The area that receives maximum rainfall in winter is the Coromandel coast. The city famous for pearl fishing is Kodallur and Tuticorin. Earlier, these islands were famous as Kalapani, it's Andaman Nicobar Islands. The state known as the land of coconuts is Kerala. And the city famous as the Queen of Arabian Sea is Kochi. Right? So before we go on to the next question, we will check the answers once. Right? Yes. A piece of land is surrounded by water on three sides is a peninsula. The area known as the rice bowl of India is the northern circles. The area that receives the maximum rainfall in winter is the Coromandel coast. The city is famous for pearl fishing are Kodallur and Tuticorin. Earlier, these islands were famous as the Kalapani, Andaman and Nicobar Islands. The state known as the land of coconuts is Kerala, and the city famous as the Queen of Arabian Sea is Kochi. Right? So now I will keep the screen the same for another minute so that you can have a look at both the sentences and the answers. Right? Now, answer the following questions. So, there are 5 questions from what we have learned in this lesson, and we need to find the answers for them also, right? So, which two gulfs are located in Gujarat? So, Gulf of Kutch and the Gulf of Kambat. So, you know, Gujarat is a state which looks like this. And here we have a folding which is actually an extension of the Arabian Sea, and the part close to or the Maharashtra. Again, there is a loop, isn't it? So these loops which have land on 3 sides and water on one side is called a Gulf, right? So Gulf of Kutch is the top, the northern one, and the Gulf of Kambat is near the Maharashtra region. So Gulf of Kutch and the Gulf of Kambat are located in Gujarat. Where are the eastern and western coastal plains? Eastern coastal plains. The area that lies between Eastern Ghats and the Bay of Bengal are the eastern coastal plains. Okay. So where do they origin? Between Eastern Ghats and the Bay of Bengal, that is known as eastern coastal plains. The area lies between the Western Ghats and the Arabian Sea are called the western coastal plains, right? So in the east, it is between Bay of Bengal and the Eastern Ghats. In a western coastal plain, it is the Western Ghats and the Arabian Sea, right? Okay. Now, what is a lagoon? Lagoon is an area of shallow salty water separated from the sea by sandbars. These lagoons are also called the backwaters of the sea. So, shallow salty water separated by sandbars. Okay. So, smaller salt water area which is separated from the main water area by a sand bar. A naturally built sand wall kind of a structure is called a lagoon. They are also known as the backwaters of the sea. Backwaters means water. Yeah, during the high tide, the salt water enters this region and fills it, and during the low tide, the water goes out along with that. Right? Fourth, what is an island? Island is a piece of land surrounded by water on all sides. A land area which has got the water on all four sides is called an island. Which crops are grown in the western coastal plain? So what are the major crops from the western coastal plain? The main crops grown in the western coastal plain are rice, tobacco, coffee, coconut, banana and groundnuts. Right? So what are the major crops grown in the western coastal plain? Rice, tobacco, coffee, coconut, banana and groundnuts are extensively grown in the western coastal plain. Right? So read the questions and answers once again. Which two gulfs are located in Gujarat? Gulf of Kutch and Gulf of Kambag are located in Gujarat. Where are the eastern and the western coastal plains? Eastern coastal plain is the area that lies between eastern Ghats and the Bay of Bengal. Then the western coastal plains are the area that lies between western Ghats and the Arabian Sea in the western side of India. What is a lagoon? A lagoon is an area of a shallow salty water separated from the sea by sandbars. These lagoons are also called backwaters of the sea. What is an island? An island is a piece of land surrounded by water in all four sides. Which crops are grown in the western coastal plain? The main crops grown in the western coastal plains are rice, tobacco, coffee, coconut, banana and groundnuts. Right? So now I will keep this screen the same for a minute so that you people can read the question and answer the answers once again. If you want, you can copy them down in the notebooks also. Right? Project or activity. Make a list of the freedom fighters who were jailed in the cellular jail in Andaman called Kalawan. So in the lesson part, we have seen that there were a lot of people who were arrested from India for fighting a war against the British to get freedom for our nation. Many of them were arrested and they were ported to the cellular jail. Okay. So we need to make a list of freedom fighters. We can easily find this list in Google. Okay, we can easily find this list in Google and you need to write the name of some of the prisoners who were jailed in a cellular jail. Or if there were somebody from your locality, the place where you live, sometimes your grandparents may be able to know if there are someone like that. You can ask them and write the names, right? Project work. On the outline map of India, locate the following: Mumbai, Gulf of Kutch, Kanyakumari, Andaman Nicobar Islands, Lakshadweep Islands. So this region of India is known as the Kutch region, right? And this breaking inside is the Gulf of Kutch. Okay. So this great breaking into the India is in this Indian region is called the Gulf of Kutch. Mumbai is here. It's the capital of Maharashtra. It's a coastal city, a port city. Then Kanyakumari is here, the southernmost tip of Indian mainland is Kanyakumari. The islands that we can find in the Bay of Bengal, these are the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and these that we can see in the Arabian Sea are the Lakshadweep Islands. Okay, yes. See Mumbai, Gulf of Kutch, Kanyakumari, Andaman Nicobar Islands, Lakshadweep Islands. Okay. So I'll keep the map the same from the minute for you so that you can have a close look at the map and the different locations that we have done over here. So that is from the lesson Coastal Plains and the Islands of India. So in the next class we will meet again with another lesson, right? So till then, stay home, take care, bye.